It's past 2 a.m. in Rome right now, and we just finished up the second quarterfinal with Darderi prevailing over Hadar. What's up, tennis fans? Sleepy Picks here. We're going to go through the first semifinal between Darderi and Casper Ruud. Let's take a look at the matchup. Here's a look at our first semifinal matchup between Casper Ruud and Luciano Darderi. Casper Ruud able to get through a tough three-setter against Karen Khachanov, 6-1, 1-6, 6-2. He was able to fight off the resistance from Khachanov. There was a 2-hour rain delay. Ruud was up 6-1, 0-1, and honestly, Casper Ruud could do no wrong in the first set. He was just connecting with his forehand, playing so many aggressive balls. We saw a very tentative Khachanov, who was kind of looking for the misses of Casper Ruud, and you don't blame him because we've talked about how we've seen some matches where Casper's come out and he's just been misfiring, but that did not happen today, and he's really comfortable on these courts. So I like I like the way the forehand looks on these courts. After the rain delay, Khachanov came out with a purpose to just be more offensive, and you could see that immediately. He was taking some more balls up the line. He was stepping into the court, just playing a little bit more aggressive against Casper Ruud, and that took Ruud by surprise. That second set, I think Ruud only won. It felt like he only won like 3 or 4 points. There were very. I mean, obviously he won a game, so he probably won like 10 points, but it was a absolute domination from Khachanov in that second set, really just taking it to Casper Ruud, not letting him get comfortable on the forehand side. Then in the third set, we saw a little bit of a change up here, some more errors coming off the Khachanov racket, and Casper Ruud able to get back on offense a little bit more. And that was something that obviously, we were waiting for him to get a little bit more comfortable. I think he just got blitzed in that second set, and he was able to regroup and come back, win the third set 6-2 to advance to the semifinals. He will take on Luciano Darderi, who just played a classic against Rafael Hadar. And this match was really just top-notch tennis. Darderi able to win the first set 7-6, and this was a tough back-and-forth match, or tough back-and-forth set. Hadar had a 5-2 lead in the breaker, and Darderi's able to come back. I mean, he just was grinding every point, just getting every shot back, really forcing the issue on Hadar. And the one thing that that we saw here from Darderi was he took advantage of the court and how slow the court was. You could see that Hadar's shots were not landing the way, they were not having the penetrating ball that he's so used to having. And it felt a lot like the Arnaldi match that Hadar played a few rounds ago, where he just he wasn't able to really hit through the court. And I think that gave him a little bit of hesitation on some of these shorter shots. There were a lot of short balls that Darderi hit, some deliberate, some not. But Hadar just very hesitant to take those and play them aggressively and come in on either side. And to me, that really cost him because, guys, how many times have we seen, Hadar just hits one big shot, two big shot, gets the short ball, hits the approach, comes in, puts the volley away. We barely saw him at net in this match. And I think a lot of that has to do with the speed of Darderi, to the pace of the court, how slow it was moving. Hadar felt like he wasn't able to play like the offensive shot that he wanted, so he would just kind of hit the ball and then move backwards. Well, that's not going to work against Darderi, who's going to be able to push you back off the next shot. The second set was Darderi was in full control, had chances to go up a double break, doesn't convert. Hadar is able to come back. We see a lot of nerves from Luciano Darderi towards the end of that set, gives the break back, loses the second set 7-5, and you start to think maybe Hadar's going to be back in control of this match. Maybe he's going to be able to wrestle this match back. And we got to give him a lot of credit, Rafa Hadar, for fighting back in that second set. And then the third set was basically a war of attrition. Who would outlast the other one? We had Darderi was having cramps in his quad. He was drinking his Pedialyte electrolyte drinks, and then Jodar I think it was at 3-0, we started to see those cramps creep in there. Remember, we saw the legs fatigue in the Arthur Feast match for Jodar, and this is why, guys, I really do question, and we got to be careful, if you're going to put him on your fantasy team, if you're going to bet him to advance farther in the French Open, you got to be careful with him in a 5-set scenario. We haven't seen him do it yet, and this match, 2.5 hours, I think maybe a little bit longer than 2.5 hours, and Jodar was really feeling it, just being grinded down by Darderi. And the last few games were all Luciano Darderi, able to get a 6-0 victory in that third set to advance to the semifinals. What a run we've seen now for Darderi. And does this turn his entire clay season around? I'm not sure yet, because I think a lot of this is circumstance, I guess, but he's playing some really inspired tennis, and you're starting to see him trust his game a little bit more. He's really starting to play his shots, play aggressive. We see him now controlling the court with the forehand again, and just in time for the French Open. Looking at this head-to-head, it is 0-0. These guys have not met before. We have Darderi coming in. He's 14-6 now on the clay. 30-11 last year, 34-15 the year before. Casper Ruud's coming in 9-2 on the clay, 14-5 last year, 24-7 the year before. As we talked about, Darderi with a straight set win over Hanfman, a 3-set win over Tommy Paul, and a 3-set win over Alexander Zverev, and a 3-set win over Rafael Jodar. Remember, those Tommy Paul and Zverev matches, he was down a set and a break and was able to come back and win both those matches. Casper Ruud, on the other hand, a little bit of an easier run for him. A straight set win over Spida, a straight set win over Lehechka, a straight set win over Musetti, and a 3-set win over Khachanov. Darderi's coming off a tough straight set loss to Cerundolo in Madrid, 6-2, 6-3, and that was where we really started to scratch our heads with Luciano Darderi. What was he doing? What could he possibly do to start to improve? And this has definitely shown us, he is a tank. I mean, this guy can go forever. Yes, he might have been cramping a little bit in the quads, but he definitely looked like the stronger of the two at the end of that Jodar match. And also, guys, I was sitting there thinking, because the court does look pretty beat up, and we heard the comments from Alexander Zverev a little bit about, how this is the worst court he's ever played on. Okay, I don't know about that, but I was thinking about how Darderi's kind of moved his way through the challenger circuit, and yeah, I would assume that some of those courts on some of the challenger level tournaments probably aren't as clean as, a Monte Carlo or a Roland Garros. So he might have like a little bit of familiarity with hey, you're gonna get a few bad bounces. That's okay. You're gonna get some shots that might not fall your way, but that's okay. And I feel like that's maybe that's helped him a little bit to mentally get through potentially some bad bounces on these courts. And I did see a few today against Darderi, and he just kind of bounced right back. It wasn't really a big deal for him. So I don't know, that kind of crossed my mind a little bit watching them hit today. Casper Ruud's coming off a straight set loss to Alexander Blocks in Madrid, and remember, he was the defending champion there, so lost a lot of points. And I didn't want to throw up the red flag for him because he had that tough match against Tsitsipas, 3 tiebreak sets, wins that, an emotional and physical match against Tsitsipas, has to come back in a couple of days and play Alexander Blocks, who was red hot, and he loses 6-4, 6-4. I don't think that's that bad. Now, looking at this match here, guys, I mean, I don't know. I continue to pick against Darderi because of what I've seen for the entire clay season, and I continue to be wrong. And now I'm scared to pick against him because he is playing very solid tennis. However, you have a Casper Ruud who only has 2 losses on the clay. One was a retirement against Felix, and the other one was Alexander Blocks. So realistically, he's only been beaten, played out to completion against one guy to lose. So he's been very tough on the clay so far, 9-2. Darderi, we know, was able to. He's got a little bit of a higher record. He played a few more matches on the South American clay court swing there, making it to the finals of Buenos Aires, losing in the first round of Rio, and I can't remember what he did in Chile, but we know that clay is his preferred surface. I think clay is both of these guys' preferred surfaces. I'm going to be really curious to see how the Casper Ruud forehand is going to match up against the Darderi defense and the Darderi forehand. You know, we've seen some great stuff from Casper Ruud. I do think that if this match is played during the day, which I would assume it will be, I assume they're going to put the center match at night. I think the ball is going to bounce up a lot more in favor of Ruud. I don't think we're going to see like as heavy conditions. Tonight it was cold, heavy, damp conditions, and obviously that plays a little bit more towards Darderi. I think if this is a night match, it might favor Darderi a little bit more. But I think if we're able to get the forehand kind of bouncing off the court and exploding with the RPMs that Casper Ruud puts on him, I gotta favor him a little bit more. I'm going to do it one more time, guys. I mean, I would love to see an all-Italian final. I think that would be amazing. I think they said something like there hasn't been an Italian that's won this tournament in 50 years or 40 years. I mean, that's awesome. So to have two in the finals would be awesome. You know, that means you're getting one. But I'm going to go with Casper Ruud here. I think he's been red hot. I love the wins that he's had. I'm curious to see how Darderi is going to be able to recover from this physical and emotional match. He's played back-to-back physical and emotional matches here. Obviously, you know, the crowd able to will him through all these matches. But I am curious how the body's going to recover here. Give me Casper Ruud. It's going to be a tight 3-set match. Give me Casper Ruud to advance to the finals in 3. Here's a look at our quarterfinal records so far. 1-1 for me, 0-1 for the Pamplemousse. Obviously, that tough Darderi win, that Jodar loss. Really wasn't expecting that, but we'll see how we do tomorrow. And as always, guys, thanks again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share your picks in the comments. Share the video. We'll have a video out once the other 2 quarterfinals conclude tomorrow. We'll have the second semifinal video out, so definitely look out for that. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.